I would like to talk a little bit about memorization today, and I hope to create a series on this as well because there's so much to talk about. It's one of my favorite topics. I'll show you a little bit about what I personally do when I'm getting ready for performance. I have here the Bach unaccompanied sonatas and partitas. This is the C major sonata, and I did perform this entire sonata from memory without any memory slips. And the fugue, the second movement, is particularly challenging, and the notes are difficult, but the memorization is very challenging because of the polyphonic nature of it. So I'll try to talk about memorization in many contexts and also many different levels. But no matter what the piece I'm talking about, I think there's going to be something for you in it, no matter what level you're at. So I just like to share a little bit about how I did this and the things that I use when I'm talking to my students. So the main topic today would be pickup places. That's what my teacher used to call it. This is almost a foolproof way of memorizing, because you just always need to, when you're approaching a big performance and a lot of pressure's on, you always need to have a safety net, and that will give you lots of reassurance, and that will help to bring the nerves level down. And so, the last thing you want to be nervous about is if you're going to have a memory slip. You want to feel calm, you want to feel confident, you want to know that you have mastered everything that there is, so that there's no apprehension when you're walking, on that stage. So, so this is something where, if you memorize this way, then even if, God forbid, there is a bad memory slip, you can easily recover. And it's something that is not going to rattle you and shake you, and it's not going to detract in a large way from your performance. And usually, because we've already made these, we've taken precautions, then usually the memory slip doesn't happen. All right, so that's the great thing about this method. So the pickup places are basically sections. So I could make this video very, very lengthy. I have so much to say. I'll just try to keep it brief. And there's a reason why we should memorize in sections. We shouldn't just memorize top to bottom. And it has to do with the way that the brain works, okay? So we don't want to be playing always from the same point in the music and then, going all the way through. That would be, it would foster muscle memory, but it would not be strong enough in the case where you just completely blank out in the middle of a performance, or maybe something just completely distracted you. It was very unexpected. I'm sure everybody has experienced this at least once in their life. And then you can't seem to, think about where you are. And that's often because you have been relying on kind of a rote muscle memory. And I call that, that is memorization, but it's a very surfacey, shallow memorization. And what I do is I really challenge my students to take it deeper and deeper and further and be a bit more cerebral about your memorization. And then that way you have many layers of memorization, many types. You have muscle memory, you have auditory memory, you have visual memory. So there are a lot of ways that you can kind of strengthen memorization from this angle and that angle and that angle and that angle. And then you've covered your bases, and if one of these were to go wrong, then the other one would hopefully kick in. That's the general idea, to put it in a nutshell. So I'm going to show you where I've sectioned off this. You can see my markings here. So I'll go ahead and show you here. So you can see, hopefully it will focus, that I used a system of numbers. You can use letters or numbers, whatever you prefer. So right here we have 1, and then here's 2, and then here's 3 and 4 and 5. Let's see here. Here's 6. So basically what you want to do is to start at the beginning of that section, and then you want to you practice knowing where the end of the section is, with a little bit of overlap, because it's not good to constantly stop in the same place. So know where the end of the section is, but play a few notes on so that you're doing a little bit of overlapping into the next section. And then you should be able to identify each section by the number or the letter that you have given it. And then you should be able to kind of quiz yourself. So now I'm going to play section 7, and then you play it, and then you look at your music to see if you've done it correctly. And then you test yourself. Now I'm going to play section 11, and then you play it, and then you check it. So always play a little bit further, but you should always know exactly which note section 11 begins on and which note it ends on. And so when you're building this memorization by section, you don't just you know, play just for the sake of memorization. What you do is you practice in sections because you need to practice the piece anyways. So you're going to be working on that section for everything you normally would work on. You know, work on fix your intonation, you know, make your chords cleaner, and make sure the voicing is correct, you know, check your phrasing, and then, you know, work on shifting accuracy. So you're doing all the things you normally do, but you're staying within that section. So once you've really identified each section, you know, individually, then you can start linking them together. And then you can do, you know, 2 of them together or 3 of them together, and then you end up doing sections. So you kind of think large scale. So if you have a long piece, divide it up into three large sections. So you know section A has, you know, 1 through 7, and then section B, you're going to practice that over and over. So that's section 8 going to 15 or something like that. And then the last section, section C, then you go from 16 to the end. So you keep on working on those. You just get bigger and bigger, and then but you still stay within the sections. And then you're gonna see that you really know the piece better, a lot more detailed. You could actually name the note, the pitches. It's a lot more, you know, front brain cerebral. But then you still have the other memorization that you had in the beginning, where you can, you know, hear the line, or your muscles just kind of move automatically. So you're kind of diversifying your approach, and that way you have a more reliable memory.